Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera di kerajaan zalim kapitalisme Kuala Lumpur. Terutamanya sekali, saya ingin mengucapi ribuan terima kasih kepada tuan-tuan dan puan-puan kerana sanggup dengar ucapan saya hari ini. Saya juga ingin mengucapi ribuan terima kasih kepada pembenci dan penghasut yang datang ke channel saya untuk mengacau-ngacau. Saya tidak kira sama ada ia penyokong ataupun pembenci. Setiap jenis perhatian adalah perhatian yang bagus. Alright, let's get back into English. My Malay still leaves a lot to be desired, but still, I'd say it's fairly decent, you know. Hello from the brutal capitalist dictatorship of Kuala Lumpur. I hope you're having an amazing day, because if you're having an amazing day, well, I'm having an amazing day. And if I'm having an amazing day, well, you too should be having an amazing day. So how's everybody today? Having a good Sunday? Well, quite frankly, I'm not having a good Sunday because I'm forced to stand in front of a camera talking to you people when I could be going to the gym right now. Yes, time is a finite resource, and I am livid that I'm not allowed to go to the gym because I'm compelled to make another video for my supporters. No, I'm just kidding. I love you guys. I love you guys so much that I gave up my gym session this morning, you know. See, I'm dressed like Haas. Just planning to go to the gym this morning, as I usually do, but I decided, despite the fact that time is a finite resource, and, you know, I don't have much time during the week to go to the gym, you know, it's still more important to make a YouTube video for my supporters, because you people are the world to me. You people are heaven and earth to me. If you people were to go to hell, I would follow you right to the depths of hell, right? I know, because it's been 2 weeks, you know, so I'm a bit worried that you're a bit worried. I'm a bit worried that you're a bit worried that I've forgotten about you. But rest assured, I haven't forgotten about you. And in fact, I'm actually giving up my gym time just to do a YouTube video for you guys. You know, just like Lord Liu Bei said, you know, at the Battle of Changban, he said, "My people may abandon me, but I shall never abandon my people!" And I've always considered myself to be cut from the same cloth as Liu Bei, the king of Shu. Okay, so let's get cracking. So first of all, before I start the video, I just wanted to wish a heartfelt congratulations to Datuk Michelle Yeoh for winning the Oscar, you know. Malaysians of all races and religions were delighted at the fact that Michelle Yeoh, our national hero, the pride and joy of Malaysia, has won the first Asian American Oscar. You know, she's the first Asian American person to win an Oscar, right? As she said, "We kung fu through that glass ceiling." You know, we're also happy that we're even willing to forget that Michelle Yeoh comes from a reactionary right-wing bourgeois family whose wealth was accumulated on the sweat, blood and toil of the Malaysian working class, just like my ex-girlfriend's family, you know. Massive Mahathir boosts, massive Barisan Nasional supporters. You know, Barisan Nasional is the National Socialist Party of Malaysia, which is what I'm going to get into today. Quite a couple of months ago, I made a video entitled "Coloured Faces in High Places." You really need to watch that video in order to understand this one. So if you haven't watched that video, please go to the description box down here and click the link to that video, and at least skim through that video first. You don't have to watch everything, but at least try and watch some of it, at least watch a few parts of it. Just run through it quite quickly so you get a gist of what I'm going to be talking about in this video, because this video is really the sequel to that video. So a few videos ago, when I was talking about the unhinged people in the Asian American diaspora who were calling me whitewashed because I demonstrated a few traits that annoyed them. For example, my Anglo-Saxon accent, which I can't help, and the fact that I don't speak any Chinese, tetapi saya banyak fasih berbahasa Melayu. Aku ini beribu-ribuan terima kasih kepada kalian semua kerana kalian semua sanggup menghadiri ucapan saya. Terima kasih banyak tuan-tuan dan puan-puan. Okay, anyway, the point is that these people called themselves racial advocates, right? They called themselves advocates for the Asian community, the global Asian community. But when you talk to them and when you analyze their views, you will find, as a matter of fact, that when they say they are advocates for the Asian community, that's not really accurate. What they actually mean is they are advocates for a very specific type of Asian, who are Asians who are like themselves, while the Asians who don't conform to their rigid mold, who do not fit their rigid mold, can go to hell for all they care. So that's why I've said time and again that all this baloney about racial solidarity, it's all a pipe dream, because those people who demand racial solidarity, even from people like me, for example, because I'm Asian, will not have the same solidarity towards me when it comes down to the crunch. What I mean by that is that, yes, I'm Asian when it's convenient, right? People like me are Asian when it's convenient, but when it's not convenient, we are white adjacent, no different from a white man, So why on earth would anyone demonstrate solidarity towards a group of bigots who demands their loyalty and commitment, but does not give the same loyalty and commitment in return, I've been called all sorts of nasty names by these people who are supposedly advocates for my well-being as an Asian person, right? So today's video is basically gonna be focusing on the fact that, just because someone is from the same race as you, it does not mean that you and him are going to have any solidarity, and that you and him are going to get along, and that you and him are going to have any aligned interests. Let me explain. I know there'll be a counter-argument saying that, what the fuck are you talking about? Of course racial solidarity is a thing. Don't tell me that, for example, the black Americans in Jim Crow America did not have racial solidarity. Well, as a matter of fact, they didn't. Because you can ask someone like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X what their opinion on America in its current form is, right? And you can ask someone like Thomas Sowell, or the woman who stabbed Martin Luther King, what their opinion on America is. And you would get a totally different picture, right? Because even in the same racial group, you will find people with contrasting interests, or shall we say conflicting interests. Let me give you a personal example. Barisan Nasional was a right-wing, national socialist, racist party that would constantly race bait and basically gaslight Malaysians of all races. On one hand, they would tell the Malays that the Chinese and Indians were taking too much of the pie, and on the other hand, they would tell the Chinese and Indians that they were pendatang, they were outsiders, and basically they came to Malaysia illegally, right? Which is, historically inaccurate, but anyway, this party, you will be surprised to know that was not wholly comprised of Malay people. A personal example, my ex-girlfriend's family were all Malaysian Chinese. They are Malaysian Chinese, right? But they were all really, really fanatical Barisan Nasional supporters at the same time, which is ironic because that would be like a black man in America supporting the Republican Party, despite the fact that the Republican Party is the party that constantly gaslights black people in America. The Republican Party is basically the American version of the Nazis. And basically, the Republican Party is borderline fascist. I'm not saying the Democrats are any better, but the Republican Party has gone to the extent of borderline fascism, right? So, anyway, considering that the Republican Party, are the Fox News Party, the PragerU Party, the fascist American Nazi Party, you will still see black American people like Thomas Sowell or Candace Owens supporting the Republican Party, right? Do these people have racial solidarity with people like Malcolm X or Martin Luther King? And at the same time, when it comes to my ex-girlfriend's family, do those people have the same kind of solidarity to the poor working class Chinese? Because, as I've said, the British surrogates created two Malaysias, one for the rich, one for the poor, right? Now, if you keep your eyes shut and your mouth closed in Malaysia, as a minority, if you have the right cables and, you have the right connections with the right people, you can do very well for yourself, like my ex-girlfriend's bourgeois family, right? Her grandparents are eternally grateful to Mahathir, despite Mahathir's constant race attacks against non-Malay people, despite he himself being an Indian, or you can look that up. They are eternally grateful to Mahathir because they did very well under Mahathir's prime ministership, right? And they would always vote for Barisan Nasional. Her family, she is apolitical, so she doesn't care either way. But her family, her right-wing reactionary Malaysian Chinese family, would always vote for Barisan Nasional, even at the expense of their fellow Malaysian Chinese who are hurt by Barisan Nasional's racist policies. Does that make sense? In the same way, to preserve their own rice bowl, right? People like Thomas Sowell and Candace Owens will also vehemently support the Republican Party. And people like Ben Shapiro would also team up with American Nazis in order to keep his own rice bowl, right? So, you could say the same about Dave Rubin also, Basically, Rubin being a Strasserite himself. Anyway, you see what I'm trying to say, right? The idea of racial solidarity is really an idea that presupposes that everyone of the same race has got the same interest. But you see, there are always going to be, even in a particular race, even if it's an oppressed race in a particular society, like the Chinese in Malaysia, you are going to find people who are loyal to reactionary parties, Yeah, my ex-girlfriend's family was not even that bad. You have guys like Ridwan T who go all the way, who even convert to Islam and parrot Malay supremacy narratives. That's going all the way. But to think that these people have any kind of solidarity with, with people like us or other people of their race who are being hurt by the dominant power's policies is simply absurd. And you've probably seen how nasty some of these racial ultras can get, right? When anyone in their race steps out of line. Now, I've talked about how the Chinese ultras sort of gatekeep Chinese identity and tell people like me that we are not real Chinese, that we're really white people in the bodies of Chinese people, and that, we are a disgrace to the Chinese race. And the funny thing is that these very same people also say that they are racial advocates and we must have racial solidarity as Chinese people, while pushing out and alienating Chinese people from their friend group or their social group for not fitting their rigid mold. And the same applies in Malaysia as well, Now, we've often talked about how the Malays are supposed to be a privileged race because of the privileges they get, right? The economic privileges they get, such as discounts on housing and, the fact that getting a scholarship is much easier. If you're a rich Malay with the right connections, yeah? If you're a poor Malay, you get nothing. If you're a rich Malay, you get sardines and salmons. If you're a poor Malay, you get anchovies. That's the metaphor that I'm going to use. Sardines, salmons, anchovies, right? But anyway, the fact of the matter is that even those Malay ultra-extremists, Malay Muslim ultra-extremists, who say that they are advocates of the Malay race, that they want to defend the dignity of the Malay race, just like those Chinese ultras who hate on me, or those Asian ultras who hate on me, say that they want to defend the dignity of Asian people and hate on other Asian people, these very same Malay ultras also hate on anyone who steps out of line in their race, right? Are they showing, like, for example, the movie Mentega Terbang, right? Which was a movie about a Malay girl who goes and explores other religions. Do you know what happened to the director of that movie? He's a Malay guy as well, right? Not a Chinese guy, not an Indian guy, a Malay guy. The director received death threats. His car was destroyed with acid, And do you think that the unruly vandal who destroyed his car and launched death threats at him had any feelings of solidarity with him? Do you think that these people who say that they're defending the dignity of their race but attack other people of their own race for not towing the line? In fact, they seem to hate other people of their own race who toe the line even more than they hate other races. You see the irony? Do you think these people really speak for everyone on behalf of their race? And do you think that these people will show solidarity towards people like us? No! So to wrap up, this idea of racial solidarity becomes a house of cards when you find that the people who demand it do not show it themselves, right? It's always really ironic because the people who are calling for racial unity and all that, racial unity meaning unity of their own race, not unity of all races together. These people who are calling for monoracial unity or safe spaces for their own race are very, very quick to point not at traitors, people they deem traitors to their race, and basically spit them out of their community, right? So you'll find that their racial solidarity does not really extend to people who do not fit their mold. Maybe they're too whitewashed, maybe they can't speak their ancestral language, doesn't matter. But I've said before that even if their racial solidarity extended to everyone of their race, right, it still wouldn't be good. Because here's the thing. We are one race, the human race, right? I know it sounds rather cliched to say, but we are one race, the human race. We might be divided by religions, cultures, ideologies, but I think we all have one common shared humanity. We want to take care of our families. We want to enjoy a civilized standard of living. And we don't want to hurt or abuse our fellow men, no matter what race they may come from. Unless we are psychopaths, right? Normal people want the best for everyone, right? Normal people want to get on well with everyone. So if you assume that only people from your race are your friends, and people from other races should be held with suspicion, or that perhaps they're the enemy, well, that would make you a racist, wouldn't it? Even if in a country like Malaysia, with institutionalized racism against Chinese, I don't assume that every Malay person I meet is going to be my enemy or is going to be held with suspicion, because I'm not a racist, right? We all have more in common with a working class person of a different race than a capitalist of the same race who would throw us under the bus in order to fill their own rice bowl. In fact, I'll go so far as to say that racial supremacists actually hate poor people who look like them. Do you know why Thomas Sowell's essay is called Black Rednecks and White Liberals? If you had a modicum of knowledge about American history, you would know that the rednecks were actually an anti-racist working class group of African American and white workers who were working in solidarity against exploitative labor conditions, right? They were a socialist group. And yet redneck is used by white reactionaries today to describe poor white people, to show their contempt to poor white people. They seem to be living under the presupposition that poor white people are naturally bigoted, racist, homophobic, what you call it. So the fact that Thomas Sowell would call his accent black rednecks and white liberals, despite the fact that his main readership is comprised of white reactionaries like Ronald Reagan, just goes to show that even racial supremacists, white supremacists, do not like poor people of the same race. They don't like poor people who look like them. In fact, otherwise they would be advocating for socialism and not national socialism, right? The same goes for Mahathir. Mahathir was a Malay. He is a Malay supremacist, right? And yet, at the same time, Mahathir does not like poor Malays, despite the fact that his actions during his years as Prime Minister enriched a certain class of crony capitalist Malays, a sliver of the Malay population. Mahathir does not like poor Malays, and he would often gaslight poor Malays by calling them lazy, incompetent, and comparing them to the Japanese or the Chinese when it was convenient, because Mahathir does not actually like Chinese either. But when it was convenient, he would compare the poor Malays to the Chinese and say, you guys need to buck up, you need to do better because the Chinese are overtaking you. And the same goes for someone like Kenny Xu. Kenny Xu will go on about Asian pride, Asian solidarity. But look at this tweet here. He seems to be laboring under the delusion that poor Asians do not exist, that poor Asians do not have issues, right? So I've said time and again that racial supremacists do not even like poor people of their own race, and you'll find that people who demand, unwavering loyalty from people of their own race often do not demonstrate the same kind of loyalty towards anyone of their race who does not conform to their mold, you see. Well, I'm done for today. I've still got half an hour before 12 o'clock, so I might run over to the gym for a quick gym session. Thank you very much and have a lovely day, and I apologize for not making a video for 2 weeks. I've been busy. Have a wonderful Sunday, guys.